MVC record.
Batidas on the beat.
Good evening, welcome to my YouTube channel. My name is David Okon. I'm talking about work in the United Kingdom. I have said before, if you watch this video and the rest of the video, that whatever happened in the United Kingdom is more or less likely to happen in another country. Today we are having a general election in the UK, and stay tuned and let me know your thoughts. And tomorrow, this time tomorrow, we will have a change of government, one way or the other, regardless of who wins. And going back to this discussion, if you work for a living, then you are bound to succeed. If you don't work for a living, then you are bound to fail. And as simple as that. That is the basic understanding of what work stands for, and that is work. It is work I'm talking about. And been talking about pay and all the other contracts and all the other bits and pieces to do with the law and policy on work in the United Kingdom. And so if you are interested to know more, you can go online on gov.uk website, and you can go to any other source of information to know one thing or another about work in the United Kingdom or in another country, in your country. It is a piece of responsibility to know what needed and what is not needed in terms of work or in terms of any other factor of society. It is your responsibility to look after yourself. I've said before that the attitude of the UK government is to release the British people to do things for themselves other than the government doing things for them. So there's an atmosphere in the UK of independence. You know, it's the idea of freedom. If you want to be free, you need to do your own thing without involving the government necessarily. And that's why I have been talking about different topics. My attitude has been to encourage individuals, especially young people, to start thinking of doing things for themselves other than doing things expecting the government to do things for themselves. And I've said many things in the process of explaining how life goes in the UK and in other countries, and I'll continue to repeat some of the points which has to do with how life goes on in the United Kingdom, and more or less the same in one country or another. And I've been talking consistently about the impact, for example, on globalization. I've really repeated to say, for people, especially if you're a young person, you are a woman, you're a man, you need to understand the idea of globalization, capitalism, the market economy, the law, policy. A lot of people increasingly are becoming aware of the environmental factor of society, nature, protection, campaigning, for the environment, trying to understand what goes on in nature, which is one of the, resources we have on Earth at a philosophical or perhaps also economic, perspective. So it is really important for people to take responsibility for their lives. We're having an election in the United Kingdom. The election underpins the idea of democracy. And so if we have democracy in the country, it suggests there is a sense of freedom in a country like Britain. So if you ask yourself, what is the meaning of freedom and what does it mean to be free? In a country like Britain, work is a passport to freedom, because if you are paid well, if you can maximize your income, because you are paid well, the minimum wage, the national living wage, which I talked about yesterday, I will continue to talk about going forward in a minute, for you to actually see the complexity. I am more interested in you trying to understand what the law looks like in its own basic format, and even the material I'm using. You can go to gov.uk, you can go to public website of Citizen Advice, you can go to places like Shelter. These are some of the website I know, which I like, going to visit to get information about these materials, this knowledge, and it is a form of empowerment for everyone, and that's what the internet is about. It's about empowerment, and my invitation to every single individual is for every single person to be an expert, at least on life. What is life? Where do you come from? Where are you going? Where are you now? What are your expectations if you're a child, if you're an adult, if you're a young person, if you're an elderly person? What do you expect? How does life go? I mean, what is taking place? What is happening? We can choose to ignore what is happening around us until we probably realize that we increasingly are getting poorer and poorer in a wealthy country like Britain. And you begin to ask yourself, you see, the world, which is enough for everyone who exists on earth, is not providing enough money for you. A lot of people take, for example, the royal family, somebody like King Charles in the United Kingdom, who have been born on wealth. If you talk about poverty is fiction, it is so difficult for King Charles to understand what poverty is, because he never saw it. He doesn't know. He has been insulated from poverty. The royal family has been really insulated. I mean, if you tell people the British people are suffering poverty, they will respond, because they are trained to respond with empathy as public figures. But in essence, they don't believe that there is poverty in Britain at all. A lot of people who are politicians, especially politicians, members of parliament, ministers, prime ministers in the United Kingdom, literally do not know anything about poverty. They were born in wealth, they live in wealth, and they die in wealth. Yet their children will continue. There are a group of people who do not understand conceptually. The middle class increasingly are beginning to lose touch with reality because of the credit system. If you borrow money to buy your home, you borrow money to buy your clothing, cars, expensive cars, why should you think you are poor? If you're middle class, you're probably earning 30,000 pounds, 300,000, 900,000. But my proposition is that by measuring class by income and also wealth, if you are not a multi-millionaire, you're probably a middle class anyway. If you are, the moment, in my opinion, you are a millionaire with money, with whatever you have, if you have bought your home outright, you own your car, everything, you are a multi-millionaire, you are upper class. Middle class, less than $1 million, net worth, you're middle class, probably the lower end of the scale. If you are 20,000 pounds per annum in your earning, then you're probably lower class. So therefore, the class in the United Kingdom, which is being replicated across the globe, lower, middle, and upper, the gap between the lower and the upper class is increasing, And I have explained elsewhere that the economy, the way it's functioning now, is concentrating to produce goods and services for the few. Like, you know, in the next 100 years, you will only find people, maybe will be, in a year, industries will be producing 1 million cars for the rich of the world. There probably will be only 1 million people who are multimillionaires and multi-billionaires. The rest of the population is going to be having nothing. And I can always imagine, this is not really facts, this is my imagination, I can only imagine that in the next 100, maybe more years, there are a group of people who will have zero access to wealth, and they will have to be put into concentration camps. If I'm right in my imaginations, then we are seeing the beginning of concentration camp. The British government now is talking of exporting illegal immigrants to Africa, into Rwanda. What I think is happening is the beginning of mass exodus, exporting the British people, beginning with Africans who are living in the United Kingdom. Not only United Kingdom, but in Europe, in America, maybe the United States of America, Canada, the developed aspect of America, which is the USA and Canada probably. You know, countries like Mexico, probably, maybe Brazil, perhaps. But the problem with equality under capitalism will always remain. India, one of the richest countries on earth, has a chronic disease of inequality between the rich and the poor. And we can say this over and over. These are some of the realities. And when we talk about existence in developed country, you are going to see an evacuation of poor people. We are going to set policy on illegal immigrants in the UK, for example. Let us look at Britain as an example, because when I'm talking about Britain, I'm talking about a sample. I'm talking about what happens globally, but I'm only using the United Kingdom as an example all along throughout this program. So therefore, when the Britain begin to talk about reporting illegal immigrants to Africa, and Rwanda is probably a sign of these expectations, this exercise. I think without evidence that it is speculation, and if you comment below if you think differently, Britain will lead the way for the developed world to start deporting illegal immigrants to Africa and other, poor countries, maybe in South Africa, in South America, and also in Asia, perhaps in the Middle East, parts of the Middle East, but mainly Africa, because Africa are going to die, most of them, because poverty in Africa is unknown anywhere else in the world. If you see poverty, if you take King Charles to Africa, to Kibera in Kenya, to Soweto in South Africa, and if you go to Burundi, the level of poverty in Burundi, in parts of the Congos, in parts of Africa where the slums, the suburban area surrounding cities and towns, you see evil, and you cannot speak evil because you are so shocked. You see it, you hear it. Sometimes you don't even hear it because the people living there are silent. They are dying silently. You can hear children screaming if they still have strength in Africa, in these areas. And yet you have in Africa multi-millionaires and multi-billionaires, people who are measured in US dollars, who are so rich, they don't know what to do with their wealth. In Africa, you go to the slums of Africa, there are children who are so suffering that they can no longer cry. There are adults who are so suffering that they can no longer even complain. They don't have the physical, the practical strength. You cannot buy a tablet for malaria or for any health condition, basic health condition, just to go and buy a tablet from the hospital, private clinics in a country like Kenya, Tanzania, in Africa. Let's talk of Africa. If we have a situation like that in Africa, we have it across the globe, then we are in a serious trouble. People are dying of curable diseases. Mothers are dying of pregnancy in Africa. The complexity, Africa has gone. Quiet. They die in silence. This is grim. This is the world we have created. This is real. And if King Charles can travel to Africa, to slums in Africa, King Charles will be prevented from going into this slum because of the risk of infection. This is an existing death. Death comes created by the state. And therefore, if you think of democracy, if you think of freedom, if you think of the state, what kind of wild animal is the state? They are governors. The Prime Minister of Britain is the governor, is the head of governors. The ministers are governors, means they are bosses. Another word for masters. And who are then the citizens? They are workers, they're slavers, the slave workers. You saw the level of pay in the United Kingdom, minimum wage. You smell a rat about the slave-master relationship in an economic, in an industrial context. You see visibly that there are a group of elite who have become masters, either incidentally or by design. One way or the other, take your pick, but there is an existence in reality where a certain group of class have become masters. And when I say masters, I mean mistresses as well, who are now joining the ranks, because women are now being included among the upper class, the ruling class. As we saw in Britain, female prime ministers, in Europe, in Germany. So in parts of the world, the women are now springing up to be masters, taskmasters. The citizens now being, they are seen as employees. They are slaves. Employment is an instrument of slavery. If you are employed by an employer, the employer is your master. If that employer is running a small and medium business, he is also a master who is actually some kind of a supervisor. It's a monitor of the lower classes, the lowest of the lowest, the most oppressed people who work for a living. Because small and medium businesses are actually there to build a market infrastructure, which when they complete building this infrastructure, they are closed down. And there is something called corporatization. The big businesses are going to take everything and they will going to swallow everything. Like a visiting alien with hopeful spaceships visiting the planet Earth and swallowing every resources. That is what they do. You could describe it as blood suckers. By either coincidence or by design. Take your pick. But that is what big businesses do. They swallow up everything. They just kind of like devour their victims. Their victims are small and medium businesses. The victims of small business are employees. workers, people who work for a living, who do not get anything. They are in debt. They are on low pay. They are abused by the law, by policy. They survive by luck. They laugh because of human resilience. There is a human spirit. Even in this dangerous part of Africa, I speak about where you talk of poverty. Talk of poverty in Africa, you see the people being poor in Africa. They laugh. They joke. They are humans. That's the difference. That is also the sign of hope. It doesn't matter how the system has oppressed you. If you still breathe, do not give up on your life. You are as good as anybody. It doesn't matter how rich or poor they are. You are a human being. And that is the case when I say we need to pay attention on the matter of our culture. Our culture is so important. Our culture is extremely important because it points to the value which is humanity, which is number one. Doesn't matter how rich you are worthless. Not you as a human, but your wealth is worthless compared to you being human. Talking about the rich people, talk about poor people. Do not despise your life. Do not neglect your life. Your life is not valued because of how much wealth you have. Your life is valued because you are human. You cannot live quietly. If you're a human being, you cannot live quietly. It doesn't matter how poor you are. You are worth as much as the richest man or woman. It is a gross mistake. It's a miscarriage of process, of system, of justice, if you want to mention that. That somebody feels worthless because they don't have money. What that has been the problem with our society, teaching our people in the wrong way. Today, if you don't have money, you don't have voice, you are nothing. You are nothing. You are not allowed to go to certain places. All the people with money are allowed to go to certain places. They look like palaces. They look like, these places look like heaven on earth. If you have been to heaven before, leave a comment below, let me know how heaven look like. It must be really, really gloriously beautiful. And so, is us. So are we. We are beautiful. If you talk about beauty, we are the best. Doesn't matter how poor or how rich you are, we are humans. You listen to certain individuals saying to a wild animal, a dog or a cat, it's so cute. Or to a human baby, oh, they are very cute because they're innocent. Because we fail to see beauty in a full human. We are the best, and we cannot go away quietly. And let us give this by way of warning to people who are in power, who abuse power, who are wrong. That we are going nowhere. We as a species, humanity will go nowhere. You try to kill us and sounding as victim. If you try to kill us, we are not going to do that. We may die, but we are not going to finish us. If you leave one of us, we will survive. We will strike back. When I say we, I mean people who have chosen humanity, whether you are rich or poor. Because you see, the war is against humanity. If humanity are killing humanity, then there is a type of human wrong which has become a type of a beast, a monster, which is no longer human. There's a type of, generated violence, form of violence. If you think of Hitler, you think of other people, you think of the people fighting in the Middle East, they are not humans. Because of their attitude, because of their mindset, because of the way they abuse people. You think human life is cheap. You just kill somebody. You kill anybody without any remorse, without any regret, because you think it is right. You are wrong and you have failed. If you are an Arab, if you are an Israel, if you are a Jew, if you are an African, if you are white, black or white, if you are rich or poor, you are supposed to choose the side of humanity. It doesn't matter if you are black or white, Greek, Jews, Africans, whichever part of the world, you are the same. You are human beings. You are valued. And you have rights to exist. And this right cannot be taken away. Whether you are rich or poor, whether you are insane. If you are insane, suffering from mental illness, get help. It doesn't matter which type of bomb or gun you are carrying, get help today and become sane. If you are King Charles and you think killing people is right, go to the hospital, get mental health help. If you are Joe Biden, if you are Rishi Sunak in the United Kingdom, if you are a leader in Africa, doesn't matter which leadership role you play. If you are Elon Musk, Jeff Bezos, if you are multi-billionaire, Donald Trump, choose humanity and do the right thing. Value people, value your life. You are worth more than the billion and the trillions you may be in control of. It doesn't matter who you are. You are human in the basic sense of the word. And that is the direction of travel, to bring peace. If we understand this, and we must understand this concept, because we must bring peace, then we are going to succeed. If not, then we will continue to suffer, but we will not go extinct. Because somewhere along the line, humanity will fight back, whether you are rich or poor, whether you are slave or free or master. There is a society, a composition of this category of people in modern times. There are people who are slaves and they don't even know it. There are people who are masters or mistresses. They don't even know it. Or maybe they know it. They probably don't know it. But that's the reality. But one way or the other, the equality coming with humanity will emerge with time. There is a time in the future when humans will come to them, will come back to themselves, will come to their senses to restore humanity. This will happen because we know the truth, and the truth is there to set us free. So we are on a trajectory to recovery, to achieve humanity, to achieve peace, as a form of existential argument. And we have won even now because we speak, so we are. So we will succeed and win. This is a basic message. If you understand it or you don't understand it, it's good. And I'm happy I shared this information with you. And I'm also glad that you watched it. Subscribe to this YouTube channel if you haven't subscribed. And leave a comment below if you haven't left a comment below. And say whatever you want to say. And a lot of people have been saying respectful things on this channel. We are a very small channel. We are work in progress. And I'm so happy I've been given this opportunity by YouTube to participate in discussing this type of topic which I like, which I value. And going forward, and we will be talking more about these ideas and about these concepts and about these realities. I am now going to start talking about specifically about work in the United Kingdom. This was actually an overview to try and tie together, to put perspective in the kind of things I've been talking about, which in essence or in a sense were kind of like, it can be meaningless because we are talking about the law and the policy, which is quite specific about, it's a bit technical, and also this is what we have created for better or for poorer, for rich or for better or for worse, for richer or for poorer, in sickness or in health. So be it. And I'm so happy that you came. I have already said that you are best to subscribe to support this channel. We are work in progress. And also click like, click notification bell to get more of these videos. If you like it, if you don't like it, do it anywhere, because somebody else other than you will like it. It's not good to be selfish. It's good to be generous and also valuing of other people, even if you know them or not. We are our brothers and our sisters, keepers in the humanitarian context within our human communities. We help each other out, and if you think somebody might value this material, if you don't value it, share it with family and friends. They may value it in some way. If you value, leave a comment below and let me know that you like it. There are a lot of people who have given me more confidence to carry on, because they have been giving me feedback, showing a lot of gratitude. They are very grateful that I share this material with them, and I think this material is unique, and I am unique, and you are unique because you're watching this. You can actually listen to it and be unique yourself, and as unique as you are, and use it in the way you want. And I'm so grateful. As is well, I'm going to carry on. Stay tuned, continue watching. I'll see you sooner or later, shifting from this format to the different format. And if you comment below, let me know how you feel about this. Stay tuned, continue watching. Quiet. So we are looking at work. We are looking at rated output work. Leave a comment below if you know anything about rated output work. Thank you so much. We are looking at rated output work. Output work counts as rated output work if the worker stay tuned, continue watching. So output work, I'm just trying to fiddle with this material. Just the technical. Just bear with me a second. Rated work, output work counts. Output work counts as rated output work if the worker's contract does not set any normal minimum or maximum working hours for the worker's output work, and the worker's employer does not control the hours of the worker's output work in practice, and the employer has worked out the mean hourly output rate for the worker's output work. Leave a comment below, let me know your thoughts. And the employer has given the worker a written notice before the start of the pay reference period, and the written notice form informs the worker that in order to comply with the national minimum wage legislation, they will be treated as working for a certain period of time in relation to their output work in the pay reference period. And the written notice states that in order to work out the period of time, the worker will be treated as the average speed estimated, that we will treat it as working. Their employer has tested or estimated the average speed at which workers the employee do the type of output work the client does, and the written notice states the mean hourly output rate for the worker's output work, and the written notice stating the rate the worker will be paid for a single piece or a single task, and the written notice includes the acres, airline telephone number. And if you comment below, let me know what you think. Rate of pay for rated output work. And so therefore, to work out the pay that the worker is entitled to for rated output work, I think they talk about performance related pay. An employer must work out the mean hourly output rate. This is the average number, including fractions of pieces the employer's workers make or tasks they do in an hour. So an employer must follow certain rules when they work this out and treat the worker as if they have taken the same amount of time as someone working at the mean hourly rate in the pay reference period, which would have taken when the worker would have taken to make the pieces they have made or do the task they have done in the pay reference period, and then pay the worker the appropriate rate of the national minimum wage for each hour they are treated as working. If you comment below, let me know your thought on this kind of policy and law in terms of the national minimum wage work in the United Kingdom. The calculation described about pays a worker the national minimum wage for the hours they are treated as taking to make a certain number of pieces or do a certain number of tasks. Because of this, it entitles them to a minimum rate for each piece of or tasks. This rate is known as their piece rate. That is the fair piece rate. Leave a comment below, let me know what you think about the fair piece rate and what you think it might or might not be. So you can work out the fair piece rate by dividing the appropriate rate of the national minimum wage by the mean hourly output rate. And so since the 6th of April 2005, this figure must be multiplied up by 1.2 to arrive at their fair piece rate. There is an example of this calculation. If you comment below, if you're in a situation like this, what you're going to do is the employer must include the fair piece rate in their written notice to the worker, testing the hourly output rate in practice to see how it goes. So an employer must work out the mean hourly output rate by carrying out a test. Although in some circumstances they can estimate it instead, an employer has to keep a copy of information needed to work out the mean hourly output rate. So in order to test the mean hourly output rate, an employer must measure the speed at which workers make a piece or do a task in an hour. The employer must test workers who do the same output work as the worker. The employer must then divide the total number or fraction of pieces or tasks that the workers tested are made done per hour by the number of workers tested. This gives a figure for the mean hourly output rate. Leave a comment below. Let me know what you think about this piece of information in relation to formulas to calculate the national minimum wage as it were in the United Kingdom at law and policy. In order for a test of mean hourly output rate to be valid, an employer must test all the workers who do the output work the workers does, or a sample of them which is representative as far as the speed at which they work is concerned. A sample is not representative if an employer selects the fastest workers. The employer must test workers in working circumstances similar to the workers' working circumstances. A test is not valid if, for example, the employer tests workers who have better equipment than the worker. Stay tuned, continue watching, leave a comment below, let me know what you think about this information in relation to how employer calculate pay for their employee in a situation involving the national minimum wage. Leave a comment below, let me know what you think. A test is not valid if for example, the employer tests workers who have better equipment than the worker. If an employer does not test the mean hourly output rate correctly, it may lead them to pay worker less than the national minimum wage. The worker can enforce their right to the national minimum wage. Stay tuned, continue watching. So estimating the hourly output rate, instead of testing the mean hourly output rate, an employer can estimate it, provided the estimate meets certain conditions. When they do so, they must estimate the average speed at which workers doing the same output work as the worker are likely to do that work. Stay tuned, continue watching. Let me know your thought about policy in relation to the national minimum wage in the United Kingdom, conditions which the estimate of hourly output rate must meet. An estimate of the mean hourly output rate is only valid if the employer has already tested the average speed at which workers work to make a piece or do a task that is reasonably similar to the piece or the task the client makes or does. The workers tested must have been working in similar working circumstances to the worker. The employer must then fairly adjust this average speed to the amount of the increased or decreased time it takes to make the piece or do the task the worker does. Or the employer has already tested the average speed at which workers employed in different working circumstances to the worker take to make the same piece or do the same task as the worker. Stay tuned, continue watching. Let me know what you think about this formula, about these propositions in law and policy in trying to calculate how a worker should be paid in relation to how he works or in relation to how he doesn't work. So when I say he, I also mean she. So the employer must then fairly adjust the average speed to take account of the increased or decreased time it takes to make the piece or do the task in the worker's working circumstances. Stay tuned, continue watching. Leave a comment below, let me know what you're thinking. An estimate of the mean hourly output rate is only valid if the workers the employer has rated and tested meet the following conditions. So the workers tested must be representative as far as the speed at which they work is concerned, as far as it's concerned of the workers whose mean hourly output rate the employer is now estimating. Leave a comment below, let me know what you think. They may or not be representative if the employer has tested workers who are not typical of those whose mean hourly output rate they are estimating. For example, if they are tested only the fastest worker. The workers tested must be representative as far as it's reasonably practicable. Stay tuned, continue watching. Thank you so much. Subscribe to this channel if you haven't subscribed. Click like, click notification bell, and share with family and friends, and leave a feedback as I have been consistently requesting. Let me know what you think. If an employer has done a valid test or estimate, they do not have to do another one. If there is a change in the number or identity of workers doing the same output work as the worker, unless there are reason to believe the change materially affects the mean hourly output rate. Leave a comment below and let me know what you're thinking. Stay tuned, continue watching. Traveling time and output work. Time spent traveling in connection with output work is counted as time spent doing output work. Continue watching, leave a comment below. Time spent traveling to and from work does not count as output work time. Watch this video and the rest of the video for it to make sense, because they are continuing. Example of how to calculate if the national minimum wage is being paid in the case of output work other than rated output work. So also take a note that these examples do not take account of the fact that some of the workers' pay may not be included in the calculation. Note also that the fractions of an hour work should be rounded up to a whole hour to do the calculations. Stay tuned, continue watching. A piece worker is paid £20 for 100 donuts made, works an 8-hour day for 5 days a week, a 40-hour week, and is paid weekly. If they produce an average of 100 donuts per day, is something you eat is bread. The average hourly rate is calculated in the following way: £20 times 5 equals weekly pay, daily pay, multiplied by number of days worked that week. Weekly pay divided by weekly hours equal 100 divided by 40 equals £2.50. £2.50 per hour hourly rate of pay. Stay tuned, continue watching. Leave a comment below. Share your thought with me. This is the amount that will be compared to the hourly rate of the national minimum wage. For example, a car salesperson is paid solely on commission based on the number of sales made per month. They are not contracted to do a certain number of hours worked per week, and their hours fluctuate from one day to the next. This month, they have worked a total of 200 hours and sold are 10 cars. They are paid £80 per sale. To calculate the hourly rate of pay, it is necessary to total up all output pay received in the pay reference period. In this case, in this particular month, this is then divided by the total amount, the total number of output work hours worked in the same period. So, in this example, the hourly rate is £800, 10 sales at £80 each, 200 total output hours worked equal £4 per hour. Leave a comment below, let me know what you're thinking. Stay tuned, continue watching. This is the amount that will be compared to the hourly rate of the national minimum wage. Example of how to calculate if the national minimum wage is being paid in the case of rated output work. Note that this example does not take account of the fact that some of the workers' pay may not be included in the calculation. Note also that fractions of an hour worked should be rounded up to a whole hour to do the calculations. Stay tuned, continue watching. Leave a comment below. On average, an employer's workers make 10 toys each per hour. So the mean hourly output rate is 10 toys per hour. The worker is therefore treated as taking an hour to make 10 toys. The worker is paid weekly, so their pay reference period is 1 week. If they make a total of 350 toys in this period, they will be treated as working 35 hours. This is because it takes 35 hours work at the mean hourly output rate of 10 toys per hour to make 350 toys in this period. They should therefore get the national minimum wage multiplied by the 35 hours they are treated as working. The adult rate of the national minimum wage from the 1st of April 2024 is £11.44. So they should get £11.44 multiplied by 35 pounds. That equals 400 pounds and 40 pence. As the mean hourly output rate is 10 toys per hour, 11 pounds and 44 pence divided by 10 gives the fair piece rate for each toy. Leave a comment below, let me know your thoughts about this formula under the circumstances in dealing with the national minimum wage as a policy. The worker is entitled to a fair piece rate of £1 and 4 pence for each day. Leave a comment below. Thank you so much. Since the 6th of April 2005, this figure has to be multiplied up by 1.2 to give the fair piece rate. For example, 1.04 times 1.2 equal 1.25 pounds. Leave a comment below. Thank you so much. Unmeasured hour works. This is work which does not count as salaried hours work, time work, or output work, but still counts as work towards the national minimum wage. It includes jobs which specify particular tasks which must be done, but not particular hours of work. For example, a warden at a youth hostel or a living club manager. If you comment below, let me know your thoughts. For the purposes of calculating which working hours counts toward the national minimum wage, unmeasured hours work will usually be the actual hours of unmeasured hours work done over that particular period. Leave a comment below, let me know your thought. However, an estimate of the unmeasured hours work unmeasured hours worked can be used if there is a written agreement between the worker and the employer made between the pay reference period starts, giving an estimate of the number of unmeasured hours worked that are likely to be worked in a normal working day. If you comment below, let me know what you're thinking. This is called a daily average agreement for unmeasured work. There is more information about daily average agreements on gov.uk, a website at www.gov.uk. If you visit the government website in the United Kingdom, you can also visit a government website in your country, especially if you're in Europe or America, but also in Asia and in Africa, and try to find out how your pay is treated in relation to the national minimum wage or national living wage. In this circumstance, we are talking about national minimum wage in its different context, and as you have probably seen or you probably haven't seen. And leave a comment below, let me know. And if at every opportunity, if you haven't subscribed to this channel, and let me know what you are getting on up to, what you have been getting up to in relation to this material, as I go through them to try and show in what I think is extremely complex material, and also a complex, it's a very technical information. And leave a comment below and let me know how you love it or how you might question the dynamism which comes with this type of information. Let us look at time spent training. If you train, you spend time training, and let's look at it in terms of pay. So time spent training for a salaried hours worker will count as salaried hours worked. For workers who aren't salaried workers, which are not salaried hours workers, time spent training will count as time work. This time spent training includes attending training at the normal place of work, attending training at another venue, or from home where the training has been approved by the employer. Time spent traveling between their normal place of work and an approved training course at a training venue outside the normal workplace. For example, so the time spent training counts as working time even if it's done outside of normal working hours. Stay tuned, continue watching. Let us look at the pay reference period. It is important to understand that although the national minimum wage sets an hourly minimum rate of pay, this does not mean that each worker has to be paid at least the national minimum wage for each individual hour worked. Leave a comment below, let me know your thought. The hours worked, and therefore the pay received, must be averaged over a specified length of time, known as the pay reference period, provided that The average pay per hour does not fall below the national minimum wage. The worker may, for some hours, earn less than the national minimum wage, and for some hours earn more than the national minimum wage. Leave a comment below. Let me know your thought about this material and this situation involving the national minimum wage in the United Kingdom and how the pay system operates in practice, and also at policy, and also at law. And the pay reference period sets the averaging period to be used in calculating whether the worker has been paid the national minimum wage. If the worker is paid at regular intervals, their pay reference period will be their usual pay period. This means that workers who are paid daily have a pay reference period of 1 day. Workers who are paid weekly have a pay reference period of 1 week. Workers who are paid monthly have a pay reference period of 1 month. Stay tuned, continue watching. Leave a comment below, let me know your thought in relation to this material. So workers who are paid less frequently than every month, such as every 3 months, will have a reference period of 1 calendar month. This means that for a worker who is paid less frequently than once a month, you will have to calculate their average monthly pay. For example, if a worker is paid only once a year, the annual pay will have to be divided by 12. Stay tuned, continue watching. If the worker is paid at irregular intervals, then their pay reference period is once calendar month, and let us look at how much is the national minimum wage. And therefore, for most workers aged 21 and over, the standard hourly rate of the national minimum wage is given in the table in the next paragraph. Some workers are not entitled to the national minimum wage at all. Some workers are only entitled to be paid at a lower rate. The rate which applies in any pay reference period is the rate which is in force on the first day of that period. For example, if a worker's pay reference period runs from the 25th of 1 month to the 24th of the next, when the national minimum wage is increased in October, the worker will not receive the increased rate for the pay for the days worked in October as the beginning of the pay reference period. In this case, 25th of September was there before the increase came into force. Stay tuned, continue watching. Leave a comment below, let me know. We are going to stop this material here as it is, and I'll see you in the next video, and we will be continuing to talk about this material and national minimum wage, the way it is calculated, the way it is treated in different ways. And I think it is quite interesting. I think it is quite complex, and therefore it's challenging, it's exciting. Continue visit website and continue watching, reading about it. Be an expert on national minimum wage in the United Kingdom, and also go and talk to your member of parliament in the United Kingdom or in another country what your thoughts are. If you can get to see them, that is fine. If you cannot see them, that is fine. But if you can visit my website and listen to it and watch it, I will do my best to make it as usable as possible. But as you can see, it is what it is, and this is the choice I've made, and this is the choice you have made. Well, if you are watching up to this time, you are a great champion, and I hope to get more viewers, and I hope to get more opportunities to do this, and I'll see you in the next video. Thank you so much. If you haven't subscribed, remember to subscribe to this YouTube channel. The best way to support me and also to support the program undertaking, share with family and friends for them to watch, even if they watch for only 10 seconds. I know these are long material, that's why I have to stop it and carry on with it into the future. I have so many material. I will only pick, here and there and discuss, just to kind of like provide context to some of the things I've been saying previously about pay in the United Kingdom, also in work. The basis for this discussion is to try and understand the idea about income maximization, which relate to income, and also how you manage your income, and also including debts. With debts, hopefully I will talk about that in the future. Thank you so much. I will see you in the